There's an awful lot of wolves in Yellowstone, and he wants to know why. Is it worth watching? Find out in this week's Indy Christian Review. Remember how last week I said you'd never hear anything about politics ever again on this show? That was before I watched Crying Wolf. In my defense, I didn't know it was going to be political when I scheduled it. But you know, honestly, I like this one a lot better than Agenda.
If you can't protect your property in the United States of America, we might well go and live in Russia or someplace.
This is a takings by the government. You know, they've taken away my capability of making a living here.
I believe there's people on the left that don't particularly want my cattle on Forest Service grazing, and maybe the wolf is just a tool to them to keep us off of there.
This nation was founded on Judeo-Christian ethic, commonly called Christianity. And if you study the Bible, the one thing you understand that man has dominion and man has a stewardship responsibility.
The outfitters, the Gardner area was hit first. They had 7 to 8 that have gone out of business.
It'll turn into one big zoo.
It's money and control, that's all it is. It doesn't have anything to do about saving wolves, because there's lots of wolves in this world.
To me, that is a cultural war worth fighting, and we have to be in that fight.
The wolf is politically defined endangered, not biologically. The wolf has never been biologically in danger of extinction. Never has, ever.
Because they rejected the creator, they had to worship the creature. Well, what's the biggest creature on Earth? Mother Earth. You know, as people call it. It's not, even though it's not our mother.
In Crying Wolf, filmmaker Jeffrey King gives a brief overview of the history of the wolf reintroduction into Yellowstone and interviews Montana ranchers that have been affected by the wolf's return. He also talked with some professors and biologists and got their take on everything. I find it amazing just how passionate people can get about this and how varied the perceptions are regarding wolves. I think it can best be summed up by this picture from the Crying Wolf Facebook page. What sports fans think wolves are, what kids think wolves are, what teenage girls think wolves are, what the government thinks wolves are, what environmentalists think wolves are, and what the documentary says wolves actually are. It doesn't so much take a position on the wolves themselves, but more the politics behind it. Yeah, it's another government conspiracy movie. But honestly, I found this conspiracy a lot scarier than Agenda's. I mean, communists can only enslave you. Wolves can eat you. While Crying Wolf's production values aren't as high as Agenda's, it did keep my attention a lot better. The sound on several interviews was kind of bad, it was hard to understand, which was pretty distracting, and I wouldn't exactly call this a balanced documentary. I think it would have been better if he had gotten some interviews with people who were actually pro-wolf, for lack of a better term, and gotten their input straight from them. As it is, it's a lot of secondhand information and the anti-wolf people giving their opinion as to how the pro-wolf people feel and think. And that approach, unfortunately, doesn't give the arguments as much weight as it would have to have actually shown the contrasting views from people from both sides. But that's just me. A word of warning for the squeamish, there are some graphic pictures of animals that have been killed by wolves, but they do put up a disclaimer in the documentary before showing them, so it's fairly easy to skip if you don't want to see it. Now that being said, Crying Wolf is still a very intriguing documentary, and at the time I'm recording this has over 76,000 views online, and it also won the Best Creation Film at the 2012 San Antonio Independent Christian Film Festival. I highly recommend that you see it. You can find out more about Crying Wolf at cryingwolfmovie.com. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be taking a look at my top 5 favorite indie Christian films. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check out our other reviews at indychristianreview.com. I'm Zack Lawrence. May God bless you, and may God bless independent Christian films. This episode of Indy Christian Review is brought to you by the Ichthus Network, your hub for Christian web series. Visit ichthusnetwork.com.